What's going on, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. Why is that happening?
Why are we having the conversation at night?
I know why.
Let's get to live, Andy.
Jesus. Alright, off to a great start on D-Live. I wanted to save that little surprise for you guys, but clearly that was not in the cards. Stammer. It's your boy Andy. You're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. Yes, it's we're doing a little bit of testing here with the looming YouTube purge. Not necessarily that we're on the chopping block, but given the imprecise and kind of broad terms that YouTube is rolling out on the 10th of this month, it's not looking good for us on YouTube.
Not looking good. Are we still having issues on the other platform?
What was that?
Are we still having issues on the other platform?
Oh no, we're straight. Yeah, it's the playback. It was just like the volume was turned on, so I have to just mute it.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, because the same thing happens on YouTube, but I have it muted. And I didn't. On D-Live, I didn't necessarily think that was going to be an issue, but here we are.
All right. So, how was your Thanksgiving, Andy?
It was good. It was what is it? It was really good. I had my family over. What was it? A lot of my cousins weren't able to come, but it was fine. I actually met my youngest cousin's boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean he seemed like a fine young gentleman.
That's pretty big deal coming to a family Thanksgiving.
Right. I mean, I think they've been off and on for a little bit. I mean, unless I'm thinking of a completely different boyfriend, then but yeah, he seemed like a perfectly nice guy. Very respectful. Got a good head on his shoulders. Promising career. I didn't necessarily feel I had to give, like, even though I'm not her older brother, but I didn't feel like I had to give the older brother talk.
That's good.
Yeah.
You didn't have to bring out your shotgun and start cleaning it in front of
and tell him I sometimes have flashbacks of Nam. Yeah.
So you pretty much just hung out with family. Did you do anything else during the weekend? Like see any movies, do anything fun like that, or is it mainly just eating during the day?
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's weird. I think we had like the latest dinner. I don't know what time you guys usually have dinner, particularly for Thanksgiving, but I had it like around 5:30.
Well, that's pretty. Yeah, we usually have it a lot earlier than that. Like, well, because we had, because we ordered food from Rosie's.
Mm-hmm. Oh, love Rosie's.
So we picked up our order at like 11:30,
mm-hmm.
and so like we technically had Thanksgiving lunch. And then,
Mm-hmm.
but then we had more at night, so we ate again probably about like 4 or 5, because there was a lot left over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it was my sister was cooking all the food this year, or at least did most of the heavy lifting in terms of cooking.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah. So I guess it just took a little bit longer than expected. Because again, we don't usually do Thanksgiving, particularly at my parents' house. It's just my aunt, didn't feel. My aunt didn't feel like, or she didn't necessarily feel like having Thanksgiving at her place this year,
Yeah.
and then also because of what seems like an interminable long time that the city was doing construction on the street in front of her house. So
So
parking,
yeah,
yes.
that'll only be going on for another like 5 years or so.
Yeah, right. I know because they said that it was going to be done in like 2 years, and I think it's just about to pass 2 years. So
Over time and over budget, baby. That's how the city
yeah,
is.
exactly. Oh, geez. But I also went to a birthday party for this kid I knew. I don't know why I say kid because he's because one, I guess I do know why, because he used to be one of my Bible study students, and he's only 5 years younger than me.
Yeah, so he's still, it's like he's a kid to you.
Yeah, so he's still a kid to me. Um, yes. So like anyone younger, I always refer to them as a kid.
That
I could
means
be
I'm
like
a kid.
I could be 80 years old, and then I could be 80 years old, and a 79-year-old will still be a kid to me.
Damn, that means I'm a kid.
Yeah. Well,
I'm only
also
2
it
years younger.
also matters like the context in which I knew you. Like if I knew you in a more like what is it, superior subordinate uh, manner, then yeah, I'd think of you as a kid. But since since we're friends, and I met you in the context of friends, then I see you more as a peer as opposed to a subordinate.
Yes. I grew up. Yes.
But not by much, because again, because I'm Korean, and I have that Confucianism in me.
Well, it's also the you with comments like on my not understanding what was meant by fossil fuels, a few weeks ago.
Oh
You know,
yeah, that's crazy. Because I would, I don't know, I don't know. I mean, I know we're only like 4 years apart, is it or less?
two.
Oh, 2 years, 2 years apart. My bad. Yeah, we're only 2 years apart, but vastly different amounts of information apparently.
Well, okay, I think that my assumption on why it was called that was a valid assumption. It wasn't like some like, I don't know what's going on. I'm not. I wasn't like the typical millennial. Just I have no idea what the hell why they call it that. I actually had a reasoning behind it.
Right, but I mean, even still, like in school, when they talk about dinosaurs and fossils, like that would have had to have come up. No,
No, it never did.
clearly you have not. Clearly, you haven't watched Captain Planet.
It's been a while since I've watched Captain Planet.
Okay.
Back in what was that on? Like back in the early '90s. Like it's been a
Yeah.
while. No, I do remember the theme song to Captain Planet.
Right. Yeah. No. Who doesn't forget? Who hasn't?
I mean,
Who
I'm not
can
a
forget it?
monster.
But yeah. But I
Let's see.
mean, I don't know. I guess. Yeah.
My
I
moment
just
of
thought it was.
stupidity.
I just thought it was common knowledge. Is all I'm saying. not necessarily an indictment of the education system, which I think nowadays it genuinely deserves. Um, but yeah, I guess it's just it's never take for granted what you think is common knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, I do the same thing on other things where I'm like, how the hell did someone not know this?
Mm-hmm.
So it happens. Like I can't know everything, Andy. Let's see. My Thanksgiving was did not exactly go as planned,
Mm-hmm.
or uh, everything worked out great. Well, let's see. We had a good Thanksgiving. We ordered from Rosie's. Um, two issues with that though. There was no ham, so I was kind of disappointed there. There was no sweet potatoes, so also a little bit disappointed there. Let's see, what else? It was raining all day, so the initial plan to go to the Eliotto show looked like that was about to fall through, and we didn't go on Thanksgiving, which I was kind of sad about.
Mm.
But what we did do is the week before Thanksgiving, I think actually it may have been the Sunday before. We watched Ford versus Ferrari, which is the movie starring Christian Bale and Matt Damon, depicting the story of the battle in the '60s of Ford trying to beat Ferrari at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, which is one of the most famous uh, sports car races in the world. And it's like it's one of those races like any race car drivers like that's worth their salt wants to go there and wants to compete and win. And so it's kind of and actually the movie did a really great job of being very historically accurate. I mean, there's a few things that they punched up a little bit, but for the most part, it was pretty damn accurate. So for Thursday, what we ended up doing was um, my dad found out about a movie or a documentary called The 24-Hour War, which is the documentary version of Ford versus Ferrari. And so
Mm-hmm.
we ended up watching that, which I learned quite a bit, stuff that I didn't know, kind of the background story, and we also it was produced by Adam Carolla, and it turns out that in the making of the 24-Hour War, they were trying to also tell the story of Carroll Shelby, who was a big part of the Ford racing program, and they gathered so much. There was so much information about Carroll Shelby just as himself that they decided to create a whole second documentary called Shelby American, and so we ended up watching that too, and there was a lot to learn, and it was so we had a great time. We ended up watching those things, those two films, watching watching those two documentaries, eating dinner. The other thing that since we didn't go to the auto show that day, something I also was pretty excited about. My favorite football team is the Buffalo Bills. Now the Bills don't get shown on national television pretty much ever, so because they suck. So you know they're not going to be on like Monday Night
As long
Football.
but at least you're not delusional about it.
Oh, I know, I know. Like, well, but this year, you know what? They're not that. They're actually competitive. They're doing really well,
Oh yeah.
and I was shocked. I was shocked to see that they were playing the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving, and it was being televised. So I took the opportunity to watch the Bills, and damn, they kicked Dallas's ass. It felt it was a satisfying win, and I don't know. I think the
Oh, was
Bills might
that
make
was
a
that
comeback.
then? Was that then kind of? They met in Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, they met them twice. They got their ass handed to them by Dallas. This is when Dallas was really good.
Right.
Uh,
I
yeah,
think
we
yeah.
got
The
murdered,
At least
murdered
the
by.
only other time I can remember is like the one in the early '90s.
Yeah, so I think the four teams that we faced in the Super Bowl were, I think it was Washington, it was the Giants, and Dallas. I think it was Dallas twice,
Hmm.
and the only one that was close for the Bills was the one with the Giants. That still is just such a heartbreaking defeat. It's just like it's kind of how I felt after the 2017 World Series against Houston. It was
Hmm.
like we were there. I
Hmm.
could feel it. We were there, and just stabbed in the heart. Um,
Yeah.
most of my most of my sports teams leave me with just daggers in my heart.
I know. You just care too much, Robert. That's just what it is. You just care too much.
I think that's what it is. Um, but yeah, no, it was good not only to watch the Bills on a mid-season game, but then also see them win and looking like they're actually in pretty good shape for the playoffs. And in our conference, the AFC conference, like I think the only teams that might be better than us are
Hmm.
Baltimore and New England. Though New England, we probably should have beat New England the game that we lost to them.
Hmm.
It was a very close. It was a very close game. So I'm actually like we might actually be able to beat New England, and that'd be another 3 wins. That puts us maybe like second seed in the AFC. So I don't know. Maybe we got a shot this year. I don't know. I'm trying not to get my hopes up because man, I've been disappointed before. We lose the last 4 games of the season, go 9-7, and my hopes go down the drain. But we'll see. So I was
Yeah.
pretty excited about that. Then on what was it, Saturday? It was no Friday night. We ended up watching The Irishman, the recent Scorsese film that's out on Netflix now,
Hmm.
and that's the story of the one of the theories of the disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa, the Union Kingpin, uh, which was a fantastic movie. It's long. It's not like, oh my god, why is this movie so long? It's everything's great. The cinematography is good. The acting's
Right. I heard
great.
it's like almost like it's over 3 hours.
3.5 hours.
Yeah. But
But
I hear but that you're so engrossed in it that you don't like. It's kind of like if you watched Avengers Endgame and it's like you don't necessarily feel those 3 hours.
no, and the thing is, like, nothing felt like it drug on too long. It
Hmm.
was it was all like it, everything was like what there was. You couldn't really cut anything out, from there. It was
Mm.
all like it was all necessary to tell the story.
Mm.
Um, and man, the acting was it was fantastic. I mean, you had all the old Scorsese like characters, actors that he's worked with in the past. It had Pacino, De Niro, Pesci, Harvey Keitel. It had some of the actors that were in his show from Boardwalk Empire. Yeah, you had those. Who else was there? Ray Romano was in it. Anna Paquin, who like they were complaining like, oh, she didn't have enough speaking role, or she didn't have enough of a role in the movie. It's like that's because she wasn't like an important. She was a side character that didn't. She had enough. It wasn't that like she's a terrible actress and we don't want her. We don't want a woman talking on screen. It's just like she was a minor character, and she did have some speaking parts, but it would have been weird had her character had more of an influence in the movie. It's just it wouldn't have made sense.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, you had and honestly, it was period correct. Like no one at that time was like if the I hate like I really hate the left sometimes. Like they're just we're gonna ruin everything that's good. But
Yeah,
no,
I know. I
seriously.
get it. It's like oh, this is fun for you. This is fun for you. Ruined.
Yeah, but no,
So,
it's
you really appreciate this thing? This thing right here? Yeah, smashed.
exactly. But no, the movie is really good. And I mean, I will say that the one thing, Al Pacino doesn't necessarily look like Jimmy Hoffa, but
Mm-hmm.
damn, if like he definitely personified Jimmy Hoffa very well. Just as corrupt, smug union kingpin. It was like he was great, and it was just it was a great movie. I highly recommend it. Like go if you don't have a Netflix subscription, I would say subscribe just to watch this film. It's definitely worth it. It's really good.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check it out. When I'm not busy editing or doing something else.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then lastly, on Saturday, I did finally end up going to the LA Auto Show. I went kind of going on no sleep, so that was. But we had a really good time. The Corvette C8 was on display there, which is the new generation Corvette, which is
mhm.
it's now mid-engine rear wheel, as opposed to the front engine rear wheel drive,
Mhm.
trying to improve performance, and it looks. I think it's going to be a success. It looks good. I'm kind of curious to feel how it would drive differently than the previous generation Corvettes. What else was pretty interesting? A lot of cars are now trying to compete against a lot of manufacturers trying to compete against Tesla. I know Porsche has their electric sports car. Ford is trying to put out some stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Audi has like their electric thing. Yeah, everyone's going like
right.
electric. But yeah, I mean, unless they could like have it so like it powers up like to a minimum, so you could travel at least 10 miles. I don't think I don't. Well, like it might be a very long time before I actually like switch to electric.
And here's the
Um,
thing where because the one now I'm not a Toyota guy by any means, but Toyota has they have the Toyota Mirai, I believe, which is a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle.
right.
To me, that I think that if we're going alternate, energy uses to power cars,
Hmm.
I actually think that's the better way to go because I feel it's uh, much more sustainable because you can create hydrogen uh,
Right,
fairly
because
easily.
hydrogen is one of the most abundant substances. I mean, supposedly in the universe.
Right.
So there's gobs of this stuff, and also the what is it? The emissions is water.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's environmentally friendly. And see with the hybrids and the electric vehicles,
Hmm.
those batteries, once they go bad, unless we find a way to be able to recycle those batteries,
Right.
and that's cost effective and good for the environment. I think that's more dangerous to the environment uh, than helpful. Um,
Right, because they always talk. Yeah, because they always talking about how oh, we need to be sustainable, we need to protect the earth, and yada yada yada. And they show the pictures of the small Indian children, in the technological scrap heap, pulling out all the gold and the plastics, and burning the rest. Is like those lithium ion batteries that are in those cars, that are in our cell phones, they're not recyclable at all
No.
whatsoever, and the minerals that are used are highly toxic. And so you're you know, and so you're saying like let's protect this planet, but then you're completely negating the supposed um, benefits of electric technology with the detriment to the planet.
Right. And so I actually think that the hydrogen fuel cell would be the better way to go.
Mm-hmm.
I know General Motors was doing they were doing testing with it, and the results ended up coming. They ended up creating the Chevy Volt and
Mm-hmm.
like some of their hybrid stuff. But I actually really think that is the better way to go. It's quote unquote environmentally friendly. Um, and yeah, I would like to see more of that being done. Um, but what I don't understand, like outside of like a few things, like God, every like electric vehicle or hybrid is pretty fucking ugly, dude. I don't
Yeah, I
understand
mean,
like why.
I remember like the very first like electric car they put to market back in the mid '90s, and God, it was an eyesore.
Yeah,
Just like it had like like the kind of like half covered rear wheel, and it had like this like kind of weird sloping design. It's like it just wasn't appealing aesthetically.
right. Um, but yeah, I mean, there wasn't anything like super exciting at the auto show this year. I mean, there's a few things that I'm kind of liking. Was Audi had a really interesting kind of they had a wagon, a station wagon that kind of a high performance station wagon, which
Hmm.
to me I think are really cool because it's like, oh, this is stupid station wagon. It's like, and then it blows your doors off. It's like, oh shit, it's
Yeah, no,
uh,
station wagons back in the day, they were very powerful.
yeah, I don't know. There's just something about a high performance station wagon that just
Mhm.
excites me. Um, Buick has a pretty nice one, although they didn't have it at the show. Let's see. The Cadillac had one for a while, which was really awesome. And they actually have some really nice cars out. Who else had a really, really good one? Um, then Chevy has their line of stuff is pretty good. Obviously, they got the Corvette, the Camaro, the Malibu is nice. But I actually kind of like some of their, I guess, SUVs that they have coming out with the Blazer and the Trailblazer. Those seem pretty
Oh,
nice.
are they bringing those back?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Blazer and the Trailblazer are back.
Mm. Yeah, I remember those back in the day.
Yeah. So I love those old like K5 Blazers and stuff. Like those, I think those are pretty darn cool.
Mm.
But yeah, no, it wasn't like the best LA Auto show ever, but like it's just one of those traditions. Like I like being able to go with my family and talking with my dad about cars, and because it's stuff that excites him, and it's just a way for us to connect.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean I've been going. I think I've missed only one show since like 1990, and so it's been a tradition that we've always done.
Mm. Yeah, that's cool.
So all in all, a pretty damn good Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, yep. Uh, yeah, yeah, kind of, yeah, just, yeah, that hiccup really kind of threw me off a little bit. Regroup. Okay, so yeah, that was our son of a bitch. Almost never try, kids.
We
That's
haven't.
the fastest way to fail. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. You tried
Um,
your best and you failed miserably. The lesson is never try.
and there's your Simpsons reference
One of my favorite
of the
Homer
show.
Simpson quotes.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. We did the holiday recap. Just really, yeah. Not a lot of stories for this show. Um, for anyone who's going to catch this later on D Live, we do this weekly. We do this live. We usually have something to talk about, like something in the news or whatever, and then we also do a movie review. Usually an old, not a recent, a release, but a classic or some obscure thing, or we do like we've been doing theme months recently. So if that is up your alley, then we're the live stream for you.
Yeah,
But
yes, sir.
uh, well, one story that I wanted to just quickly touch upon that I found kind of interesting was the recent dismissal of the police chief of the city of Chicago, Eddie Johnson. If that name sounds familiar, um, it probably should because of the whole Juicy Smollett incident that happened earlier this year. Um, where the police chief came out and with pretty strong words, against Mr. Smollett and his actions, and and I find, and I'm not necessarily putting out a conspiracy theory, but just the fact that this guy, went out and was kind of lambasting this guy, and then now all of a sudden he's embroiled in somewhat of a scandal, and was forced into retirement, or no, not into retirement, but he was fired mere weeks from his retirement day, um, which then being fired, it no longer entitles him to his pension or retirement money. So yeah,
That is a stab in the heart right there.
right, yeah, especially because this guy was on the job or at least yeah, I mean, I think he was with the Chicago PD for 30 years, and um, I think he's been police chief a little bit less. Let me see right
Wait,
fast.
so how close was he to retirement again? I'm sorry, Andy. Was it like you said, like was it 3 weeks or something like that?
Yeah, like a couple of weeks from retirement.
Shame he had 3 weeks till his retirement.
Yeah, yeah. The article says that he was mere weeks away from retirement. That doesn't like it. Yeah, it doesn't get or like he was supposed to retire at the end of the month.
Wow,
Yeah, for poor decision and a lapse of judgment.
that was the
And
reasoning that they gave.
yeah, well, they also link it to because they found him like asleep in his car. Maybe in a place that he shouldn't have been, or um, the circumstances were a little bit were just a little bit off. And then supposedly there's video of him at some sort of establishment late at night with a female member of his security detail, and they were having drinks.
Was it just that one person, or was it like
It doesn't
was he
go. It
also?
doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't go into detail.
See, my thinking here is like because and I don't know this guy. I don't know what his what his mindset is, but you know that okay, he's close to retirement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they supposedly have evidence that he's with this one person from his protection detail. Unless like he's known to have maybe been like where it's kind of like this, kind of open secret in a sense that like, oh, maybe he hangs out with the ladies and his that are potential subordinates and uh, under his employ.
Hmm.
Um, it's like, okay, you got this guy who is close to retirement. You know, isn't it not completely out of the realm of possibilities that maybe he's kind of having one last shindig with his friends from his department, people that he's worked with to have drinks with, or whatever, and they kind of maybe overindulge a little bit.
Hmm.
It's like it's
Right, because
which
he was also the former Chief Johnson was saying that he had like some sort of bad reaction to his like heart or blood pressure medication.
mm,
And he claims that he didn't drink that much that night, but I guess he still had some sort of interaction with his um what is it yeah blood pressure medication or something.
yeah, that's I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I like that's one of those things where like you have some things where it's like where you're there's questions that should be asked and maybe like looked in a little bit further, which isn't going to happen, obviously.
Hmm.
But had he been maybe not as listen, Chicago is a very corrupt city. I mean, when you think of Chicago, you think corruption. I mean, it's been corrupt well even before Al Capone was running the town. Yeah, so uh,
Right, and
but
that's
it's
why,
like
yeah, that's why they keep making movies about Chicago corruption.
yeah.
What was it? The
Now I'm not
latest
saying
one.
that like
Oh yeah, that there's like, I mean, just recently there's that movie Widows. Where
yeah.
yeah, and then back in the '90s there was, of course, the Untouchables. Um, yeah,
Even
so
like what
so yeah, Chicago, doesn't have the best reputation when it comes to
right,
public servants.
and that's where so I'm not saying like he was never corrupt or that he is an upright you know police officer and
Right.
citizen of Chicago.
Yeah,
I
just
can't
yeah,
say that
just
without
a vigilant public servant or whatever. We're
yeah
not saying that he's squeaky clean. No, nor are we saying that he was dirtier than dirt. Um,
but the fact that he came out so strongly against because he was rightfully angry about the whole Jussie Smollett fiasco,
mhm.
as many police officers should have been. And actually, I was kind of surprised that him, as the chief of police, came out so strongly because it's I would expect like from normal run of the mill officers to kind of be like, this is fucked up. Like we have this guy is clearly lying, and
Mhm.
we're wasting our time. Like it's it's like I'm looking at who perpetrated this thing. And it's right here. He's claiming he's the victim, but he's the culprit. Um,
Right.
but the fact that the chief of police came out is like and came out so strongly is like I was kind of surprised by that. I was like, damn, he's got some balls on him. It's like and kind of standing up for his cops in public too. That's the other thing. It wasn't just I was like behind closed doors he's got their back, but like on this public stage he's like, well it's and kind of hemming and hawing and making excuses. But no, he
Mhm.
came out and lambasted Jussie Smollett, and that may have been to his detriment. Because there, like I said, there's a lot more questions about this whole situation that maybe should have been asked, or especially if like the guy maybe not had any like issues in the past, and it's like maybe we can give this guy a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. It's like that. He's kind of telling the truth that because none of this, and I don't know like their statutes and rules, but none of that seems like it should be anywhere near the realm of like, yeah, you lost. You've only been working for us for 30 years, but you lose all your pension and retirement and all that. Yeah, that's all out the window. Sorry, it's nice knowing you.
Yeah. Right. And again, we're not trying to peddle a conspiracy theory, but we're just noting like the timing and it's just like the optics of it just don't look right and don't feel right.
Like I said, I just think it's like all we're just asking questions. That's all.
Yeah, we're not saying that this is a definite thing that happened, or we're not saying that this like the way that the circumstances that we are putting forth aren't exactly how things went down. It's just we're asking, we want to know.
It's curious. That's all.
Yeah.
And yeah, sucks to be him though. Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, Chris,
but although it did seem a little bit spiteful because he was like saying like because the mayor was asked like what was going on and she said it's like, oh, in deference to his wife, I'm not gonna say anymore. Just like it's like bitch, it's like you say it that way and you make it sound like you just make it more worse. You could have just said like you could have just made it very general and be like in deference to his family, I don't want to talk about it. And so it's a more respectful way of saying I'm not gonna say anything until more information comes out. As opposed to like singling out his wife and be like, oh, in deference to his wife, I'm not gonna say any more.
Oh, jeez, just
So again, like that's like one of the things that make me feel like this isn't like just it just happened to happen just before his retirement and and it's happened to happen right after he had a few drinks.
yeah. And it's crazy to think. It's like I want to just kind of believe the narratives that are put out. It's like, and it's scary that we have to always. It seems like anytime like we hear something on the news, like is that true? Is that really true? Because it seems like kind of bullshit to me. And
Mm-hmm.
and it's like you'd like to be able to like believe the newscasters and journalists that are out there, like it's like, oh, they're doing good work. It's like, but they're not. They're really not. And it's all these guys are, and especially because it's Chicago. It's like, oh, I don't think. There's a lot of people, from that town. They told me this, the sky was blue, and I had to, or they told me that today was it December 3rd. I'd had to check my calendar to verify.
Yeah, so yeah, we're not. Yeah, this isn't like happening in a vacuum. It's um, these are things that are happening. In reality, and they're the information is being told to us by known liars. Um, so it's you can't blame a person for having doubts or being skeptical.
Yeah, it's I'm skeptical. I think more questions should be asked, but I know that that's not going to happen.
Right,
It's
because the mayor was saying that she was waiting for the inspector general's report to be published, which is supposed to have a fuller picture of what was going on or what the situation was. So until that happens, we'll just stick a pin in the story
yeah.
and
We'll see what happens.
yeah, see what
Maybe
happens.
something good will come out of it, but I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, I mean it sucks too because this guy he worked for 30 years. Um, and then just like a few weeks before he's supposed to be able to walk off the job and spend some time with his family or whatever. It's all gets taken away from him.
Damn shame.
Damn shame. All right. Well, yeah, that's all I had to say about that. Let's get into our movie review. I guess this is the penultimate one before we go on our 2 week break for Christmas and New Year's. But we'll probably still be pumping out content, especially on for the main show, the Circle of Jerks podcast.
Yeah, that we will be doing. It's just we won't have a
Because
couple.
definitely gonna that's because we just recorded an after Thanksgiving special with one of our favorite guests in the whole wide world, Eric Nam, and that should be coming out. If not next week, then the week to follow.
It's gonna be a good episode. You guys are gonna love it.
It's gonna be good. Yeah, it's a movie themed episode. We discuss and we rate the recent movie Parasite and also Doctor Sleep and The Shining, and we do like a compare contrast sort of deal with those two.
It's funny. Before we get into our movie reviews, there was a lot of people have been asking, like, because we're getting close to, this is the end of a decade. Actually, wow, it's kind of crazy to think about, but we're heading into a new decade, and people are asking, like, oh, what do you think is the best this of the decade or that of the decade? And there's been people asking the best movie of the decade, and honestly, like, I'm thinking about it. I think Parasite is right up there. I might even put it as my favorite movie of the decade.
High praise. High praise.
It's definitely in the top 5. I'll give it. That's for sure. In my opinion.
Top 5 for this decade?
Yeah.
So from 2010 to 2000. Wait.
Yeah, it should be from 2010 to 2019.
19. Okay, that's right. Wow. Okay.
That would be that's my my thought. Yeah, I think it's definitely in the top 5 of the decade. Might even be the best one. I haven't really given it much thought, but really kind of put down my list.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I'll do that. Maybe we'll do that for next week.
Yeah, I'll have to definitely think about that one.
We'll put a pin in that one too.
Yeah, I'll put a pin in that one. Anyways, let's get into the movie review for this month, and the theme is who wore it better. So this month these next couple of weeks we're going to do movies. We're going to do original movies and then their remakes, and then we're going to do kind of like a compare and contrast, and then we're going to rate both films. But to start off this month, we're going to review Scarface, both of them.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is like when you think Scarface, we all know the one from '83 with Al Pacino, right? We all know that one. Everyone I talked to, like when I was because I've been talking about doing this review for a while, and because I talk to people about movies all the time, or people always come up to me and it's like, hey, what's a good movie to watch, and what are you watching, all this stuff. So. And I was telling them about what we're doing for December, kind of this idea of who wore it better. And I was telling people, like, there's certain movies that we all know and love that are actually remakes. And with Scarface, they're like, Scarface is a remake? And I was like, yes, it was. There's actually the one from 1932 that nobody talks about ever. I've never heard anyone talk about the 32 Scarface.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not talked about whatsoever, and so I think this is gonna be fun.
Yes, you literally took the words right out of my mouth because I was pretty much going to say the same thing.
Well, Andy, great minds think alike.
Exactly. All right. Just a quick synopsis. I'll do just quick synopsis. I'll just do the synopsis for both
Okay.
movies, or both versions, I should say. There it is. Yes. Okay. So this is for Scarface, 1932. Key lieutenant of Southside Chicago crime boss Johnny Lavo. Hmm. Oh, speaking of Chicago. Yes. Speaking of Chicago. Uh, Key lieutenant of Southside Chicago crime boss Johnny Lavo, Tony Camante, is an ambitious and reckless gangster who ignores warnings not to mess with Irish gangs on the north side. When the north side retaliates, Tony essentially massacres them, leaving them on top of the world. Worried about Tony's overconfidence, however, Johnny orders him killed. But this also backfires, and Tony finds himself even closer to becoming king of the city. That's for Scarface 1932, and then, of course, Scarface 1983. After getting a green card in exchange for assassinating a Cuban government official, Tony Montana stakes a claim on the drug trade in Miami, viciously murdering anyone who stands in his way. Tony eventually becomes the biggest drug lord in the state, controlling nearly all of the cocaine that comes through Miami. But increased pressure from the police, wars with the Colombian drug cartels, and his own drug-fueled paranoia serve to fuel the flames of his eventual downfall.
Yeah.
So where do you want to begin?
Well, let's start with the movies are similar. Well, let's start with the similarities, and we'll hit on and we'll. So, a couple of similarities. Obviously, both our main characters are named Tony.
Mm-hmm.
They have a sister that they're very protective of.
Mm-hmm. Both immigrant backgrounds.
Both from immigrant backgrounds. They both lust after power.
Mm-hmm.
And technically, yes, they do kind of get high off of their own supply. Tony Montana.
Right, even though they were warned by their mentors not to
do. Right, and you have, although it was, it's Prohibition era for the 32 version. Right. But like he when he finds the Thompson machine guns, like that's where like his real lust for power begins with, and it's kind of like he's kind of getting high off of his own supply, right. In essence.
He felt the way that God must feel when he holds a gun.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's your second Simpsons reference for the show.
That's it. I'm gonna have to watch that episode after we get off the air. Oh man, that's a great episode.
Yeah, it is.
Let's see. There's the right hand man of the Tonys are killed by the Tonys for getting together with the sister. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to think of what they both die. And they
both lust after the boss's like beautiful blonde girlfriend.
That's right. In the original one, it's Poppy. I forget. Mm-hmm. I'm drawing a blank on the name from '83 that Tony Montana got with, which was a very young,
very hot Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh God, she was smoking in that film.
Woo! Seriously, woo! The character's name in the 1983 was Elvira.
That's right. Yeah. Great name.
Mm-hmm.
So, but those are really the similarities. But I think then that's kind of, and I'm not sure if this was mentioned in the '83 version, but the introduction in the 32, the original, they talked about how it was kind of based on a bunch of true events that happened that they all kind of like pushed together.
Right. Yeah, because
And
that scene where Tony lines up all those gangsters, and it was on Valentine's Day. That's obviously a reference to the St. Valentine's Day massacre.
exactly, yeah.
And
And then the
so
thing is, like Tony Kamani, like
mhm.
he's Al Capone. That's the character that he's kind of portraying, because
Right.
Scarface was the nickname of Al Capone,
Mhm.
and he was a Chicago thug that became kind of the kingpin of Chicago.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, Italian American.
Yeah. Um, so that's kind of like, and so it was kind of like
So.
sharing all these, Prohibition era mobster stories that they kind of
Mhm.
all rolled into one film, which was kind of, but I don't, and see the thing is, I don't know if that was necessarily the same case with the one from '83. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's some resemblance to some true stories, but I don't think that they actually directly
Right. I
came
think,
out
but
the
yeah,
same.
I think the only parallel is kind of would be the war on drugs, essentially, which they do
Right.
bring up, because they're after that one guy who's kind of like like a whistleblower. He's like saying like, oh
That's
well,
right.
like America, even though America spends all this money trying to fight, the drug trade, America's the one that's buying up all the drugs.
Oh, right. So it's kind of like also referring to like what the Iran Contra affair kind of, you think?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So yeah, I guess there are like but not. I don't think it was quite as much as the 32 version, but there were some definitely references to some historical um, events in the '83
Well,
version.
yeah. Well, like yeah, they did reference like the kind of the Cuban refugees that would come on boats. Although, yeah, like like Fidel allowing for the people to like leave and then like sneak, let it like releasing all of the prisoners from like the jails. That was a fabrication.
That was a fabrication.
Yeah, or at least like the part of where Fidel, released like 100,000 prisoners along with like the refugees.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fabrication.
But yes, but so it's that's kind of like where the similarities in the movies kind of end.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that there was a lot more differences than similarities in the films.
Hmm.
Is there anything you think I missed on similarities, Andy?
Whoa. What else? Well, I mean, they both like and both Tonys confront their their former boss and mentor because the mentor the mentor betrays them.
Oh, and the way that he gets where he like confirms that it was the boss
Mm-hmm.
that betrayed them. It was done the same way. It
Mm-hmm.
was kind of like, I know this guy did it, and so he had someone call at a very specific time,
Right.
claiming that they did the job or they bungled the job,
Right. And then
and if he dismissed it, then they knew that it was.
right, because I think in both versions, like they both dismissed it. It's like, oh, it was my girlfriend, or it's like it was Poppy, or it was Elvira. Even though Tony's knew that it was the guy because they called exactly at the time that he specified, so he knew that it
Yep.
was his guy. And so like, when he said like, oh, it was my girlfriend, it's like lying sack of shit.
Yeah. So yeah, that was that. And but outside of that, like, yeah, that's kind of where the similarities in the film kind of stop.
Yeah.
Um, let's see.
Right.
Now, as far as the, I mean, the differences go, I mean, like the way that both Tonys die at the end is
Right.
because one, it's death by cop in the original, whereas in the '83 version, you have him die by a rival, by one of the drug lords that he kind of screwed over.
Yeah. Was it just me, or did that guy look like the Colombian Terminator?
Dude, yes, he did.
Even though this movie came out a year before Terminator, it was just like
Maybe he was the
inspiration.
inspiration of, yeah. But that's I was, it's funny that you said that because that's exactly what I was thinking. It's like, dude, this guy is gonna fuck everybody up.
Right. Yeah, I guess some of the other differences would be like the relationship between Tony and his mom in the '83 version is different from the '32 version.
Very
Where
different.
in the '32 version, Tony lived with his mom and his sister, and he took care of them or whatever. Whereas in the '83 version, Tony came over to the United States by himself. He declared that his parents were dead. He had no family here in the States. But then it wasn't until much later, once he's established himself within the drug trade, that he goes and visits his mom and his sister and says, "Oh, mom, your boys made it," and he offers to pay, to give them money and to take care of them. But also the dynamic is different because in the '32 version, the mom mostly just allows Tony to take care of them, as opposed in the '83 one where the mom knows where he's getting his money from and doesn't want anything to do with it, and mostly
Well,
severs ties with him.
yeah. Well, and the other thing is in the '32 version, it's almost kind of like a loving relationship between those two, anyways, because
Yeah.
when when she realized that his sister's kind of like ended up going off somewhere, she told him about it, and it's like, hey, she went off to this address, I think she's with some guy, but I don't know who it is. And it's like, whereas if that was the '83 version, that would have never happened.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, which is the relationship between the Tonys and the sister, when after both times he shot like her, surprise husband, that they were trying to, which was the right hand man in both cases. In the '32 version, which is very weird, that she ended up forgiving him at the end and was
Right.
fighting alongside him.
Uh-huh.
Whereas in this version, she came back, like, because in the '83 version, she shot Tony Montana. So it's
Yeah.
like, which I
Yeah.
think
Then
is one.
it was got like this. She was like in this weird like hysteria state where she was like accusing Tony of like wanting her
To fuck her.
sexually.
Yeah, I was like, that actually kind of like, I felt like that reaction was more genuine than the one from the '32 version.
Right. It's like, oh, like, yeah, you killed my husband. I forgive you. As opposed to this one
Yeah,
where she's like kind of still like grief stricken, and so like, and then she's like, she, and like, she, because she kind of like lost in her thoughts, in her grief, and like kind of like seeing things like, he gets insanely jealous when when any man tries to lay a hand on her. And so it's just like, like what else is she supposed to think that means?
right. The other difference too, and which from the '83 version, there's a lot more backstory, and kind of really you kind of dive deeply into who Tony Montana is, his background, and like how like he kind of how he moves up. Whereas in the original, it's kind of like they fast forward time quite a bit, where
Yeah.
it's like pretty. Um, I mean, they do the same thing in the '83 version, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not. It's you still get a lot of story, a lot more
Mm-hmm.
story.
Right.
I'm trying to think of what else is kind of different about. What are some other differences that you noticed that you felt were significant differences?
Um, well, in the '83 version, the right hand man of the mentor turns out to be a rat, or he's known to, because they during that deal in Colombia, one of the the house the servants for the drug lord in Colombia recognizes the right hand man of the boss, or the mentor, and
Right. Yeah.
he gets killed. I don't know if is there is similar thing that happens in the 32 version like that,
No,
where
no, not like
okay,
that. No.
yeah,
But yeah, they hung him out of a helicopter.
right. Oh yeah, and like the right hand man of the mentor, was played in the '83 version, was played by F. Murray Abraham.
Yep.
For
The
those of, again, for those of you not aware, he's a very well respected actor.
the other uh the another kind of, I don't know if you watched Breaking Bad at all.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever watch Breaking Bad?
I never got past this first season. Not because it wasn't a good show. It just I don't know. Something happened. I couldn't finish it.
Anyways, okay, so well then you probably still saw this character.
Mm-hmm.
So the kind of the assassin that was part of that, the Colombian the drug kingpin, like his assassin,
Mm-hmm.
that guy. He was the guy that's in Breaking Bad. He's the crime boss that's in the wheelchair with the
With
bell.
the bell,
That's him.
yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Ding 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 ding
Ding,
ding.
ding, ding. Yeah.
Yeah, that's him.
That's right.
I was like, I was looking. I was like, I know this guy. Where the fuck do I know him? And thankfully, because I was watching it through Amazon Prime, and they
Uh
have like little trivia and like who all the actors' names are and stuff. So I looked at it. I was
huh.
like, oh yeah, that's right. He was the guy from Breaking Bad. Um,
Nice.
One other thing. Think about that too. The other difference from this film too is because they're later on in the film and this is where like kind of the beginning of the end for Tony Montana begins,
Mm-hmm.
is kind of dealing with like the whistleblower and all this stuff, and they're trying to kill the guy that's going to the UN,
Mm-hmm.
and Tony uh, is helping the guy from the Colombian drug cartel set the car bomb, and
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to set it off, but it's like his wife and kids are along with him, and it's like, no, no, I'm not gonna, like, you said that his wife and kids weren't gonna be there. I'm not doing this, and so he
Mm-hmm.
ends up shooting the guy. Nothing like that takes place in the original.
Right, 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 right. That's right.
And actually, it's kind of weird in a way where, unlike in the 32 version, you do get some semblance of humanity from the 83 version.
Right. Well, yeah. In the 32 version, they just made Tony out to be like this kind of like crazed killer, or like this kind of like this um, this unsympathetic killing machine.
Right, and it's like they're both bad guys. We both know that. We both want them to get their comeuppance,
Mm-hmm.
but you also get a little bit of like where Tony Montana, unlike Tony Kamani, has some humanity in him, and he has a line that he won't
Right.
cross.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah,
And
Tony Montana, he won't kill like civilians, quote unquote.
right,
Innocents that have nothing to do with his business.
so that's a huge difference in the story too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, those are the only ones I can really think of that are like the huge, like significant differences in the from the two.
Right, because it's, I mean, not to ding Brian De Palma, because I think his direction was great, but it was more or less these two movies are more or less the same.
They are and they aren't in a lot of ways.
Right, right. I
And
mean, they're. I mean, I think very basically, like skeletally, they're the same. It's just like
yeah,
they just have different muscles.
yeah. Okay, that's actually a good way of putting it. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
The I mean, obviously the other big difference, one's Chicago, one's Miami, but
Right.
um,
Yeah. Geography or location.
yeah,
But I dare say that the '83 one was a little bit more international and global because the trips to Colombia and into New York, and so as opposed to the 32 version where it was just mostly centered around Chicago.
yeah. I mean, they traveled as far as the north side.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
uh, the why do you okay I'll ask this, why do you think it is that the 83 version is the version that everyone thinks of as opposed to the original? Do you think it's just, is it the age of the film? Is it just is it the acting? Is it the characters? What do you think it is that really makes the 83 version what everyone thinks of in their mind when they think of Scarface?
Um, well, I think acting for sure, or the caliber of actor. Um, because again, I look at the cast of the 32 Scarface and just like I don't know who these people are. And again, it's we're just me and you are of course you know decades removed from the height of these actors like careers and things like that. So we don't know the actor who played Tony in the 32 version might have been of equal popularity or caliber as Al Pacino. I'm just not sure.
And well, here's the other thing too, like with the 32, because 32 is actually like it's still pretty early on in the quote unquote talkies. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so because that was like maybe like 4 or 5 years like
Mm-hmm.
into talkies. So like I said, these could be the heavy hitters, and even then, with the one like really kind of big name in the film that is, I would think, is still recognizable today is Boris Karloff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, though he didn't really play a huge prominent role in the film because it was still
Mm-hmm.
pretty early on in his career as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so yeah, like it's and it wasn't that the acting in the one from 32 is bad. It's just the names aren't recognizable today at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, outside of maybe one person. The other thing. This was a Howard Hughes production, produced film. The one from 32.
Right, 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 right.
So that's the other big name. But yeah. I don't really know why. It's not a bad film, but yeah, the 83 one is definitely. I think it's a mixture of acting, the stars that are in the film, and I don't know. Maybe people like more of the kind of bombastic, crazy Tony Montana, because Al Pacino plays him pretty well.
Right. But I
Um,
think, well, also I think it has to do with quotability. The '83
yeah,
version is I mean, again, it goes back to that phrase we coined, cinematic archaeology. It's like everyone knows,
oh,
like it's like say hello to my little friend, or
yeah.
first you get the money, then you get the women.
Yeah.
He's like you're stupid. You're a stupid little cockroach. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
all memorable, all quotable lines, and I think that went of I think did Brian De Palma like write it too, or like rewrite, or did he just
Um,
direct?
I have to look into that. I don't remember if he was. I didn't look into it that far.
Oh no, wait, this was a screenplay. The screenplay was by Oliver Stone.
Oh, that actually explains a lot. Okay.
Mm. But yeah, I think the biggest thing for the '83 Scarface is just quotability.
Yeah, those lines have lasted the test of time and have been parodied so much.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, even I'm not sure if you're familiar with the group The Lonely Island. It's
Yeah,
a
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah. Well, there's one that song that they did along with Michael Bolton, and they were kind of parodying all these films. One of them being Scarface, which was fucking hilarious, by the way. And but yeah, it's stuff like that. From music to games to shows, all this stuff. I mean, like it's kind of one of those movies that even if you haven't seen the '83 Scarface, you've seen it.
Right.
It's
Oh, and also, I didn't realize. I mean, I guess now watching it more as a mature adult, how bad Al Pacino's Cuban accent is.
oh, it's so bad.
It's
Yeah,
so bad. I mean, but at the time, I thought I just really enjoyed the character. So I just like I didn't really think about it. But then also like I never met any other Cubans, so it wasn't really a thing. But then after like experiencing the world a bit more and like actually hearing how Cubans talk, it's like man, it's so bad. But that awful Cuban accent is also what's memorable about this too, because you can't do you can't quote Tony Montana in just your regular voice. You gotta do the Cuban accent, or the
yeah.
god
You gotta
awful
do it
Cuban
with
accent.
fucked up Cuban accent. That's not.
Yeah. You.
Yeah, I knew it too because after because I'm a baseball fan and there's
hmm
there's quite a few Cubans in baseball and yeah
Right.
their accent is it's like that's not Tony Montana's accent at all.
Right.
uh,
I mean, some things I think he did get it right. Like when he go like, "Hey, what's up, man?"
yeah,
That yeah, man. I don't know what you
that
talking
actually
about, man.
yeah. Um, I will say this too: if you're doing a drinking game for Scarface
Mm-hmm.
and with how much the word "fuck" is used in this film, like you would
Yeah.
die. If that was your drinking word, you'd be fucked by like
Yeah.
20 minutes into the film.
Right.
Yes.
I was wondering how much of Michelle Pfeiffer's performance in the bathroom scene. When he's in like the jacuzzi, and she says like, it's
Yeah.
like, "Could you stop saying the word fuck every single time?"
Yeah.
I wonder how much of that was like actually like her like she's like stop saying fuck so many times.
Well, hey, at least the movie's self-aware. Yeah.
Very.
I was gonna, because I'm no like obviously I use the word fuck quite a bit too, but man, even I was saying it's like that's too much. Like this is insane. Like how
I know,
much
like the word is beginning to lose all meaning.
yeah, it's like I don't think I've ever seen a movie or show or anything that has used that word so much.
Hmm.
I think it's
Agreed. Agreed.
I wonder I know there's someone out there that's done it, some like crazy nerd that has counted up how many times that word is used throughout the film.
Mm-hmm.
I want to look it up and I want to see if it is indeed the film that used it the most.
Right. It's kind of like trying to get an accurate body count in Braveheart.
Right. Oh man.
All right.
Um.
Anything else you want to add?
No, I can't really think of anything. I would other than that, like, if I was gonna say which one I like better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm obviously one. I usually do not like remakes of films. We kind of did this once back when we did our um, whatchamacallit, our not
Hitchcock.
yeah, our Hitchcock month with when he remade his movie The Man Who Knew Too Much.
Mm-hmm.
That to me was a remake that was done right,
Mm-hmm.
because I think it not only like it kept the story from the original, but I think it improved upon it with some better acting, and kind of gave a little bit more depth to the story. Um, so that was, and I felt like that was a remake that was done right. This is also another one that I felt was done right, um, where like I said, it had the skeleton that was there. It just kind of added some more depth to the characters,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. It did feel like a better movie. It was because a lot of times, like the remakes, especially the remakes that are coming out today, they're really not good. They're unoriginal. They're not really doing anything new other than trying to shove some social justice down your throat. It's like, what if such and such character was a woman? Oh, you bigots didn't like that, did you? You sexists didn't like that very much, did you? It's like, no, you know why I didn't like it? Because it fucking sucks. That's why. The acting's terrible. You know,
Right.
it
Yeah.
took
I
almost so
mean,
good.
yeah, because I think another example of like good like gender swapping or race swapping um, would be the reimagined Battlestar Galactica.
Yes.
Because they took Starbuck, who was originally a male character, and then turned it into a female character. But it worked. They
Damn, it worked.
I mean, because she wasn't a strong female character outright. She was flawed, and you slowly got to the character slowly got to endear herself to the audience, and so then you begin to like respect her. And also the character of Boomer, who was again in the original Battlestar Galactica, was a black man, but for the reimagined version was made into a Korean woman,
Yeah, that's right. That's also. Oh
right?
God, yes.
And it worked out too because and then they expanded the character because they made her into a human form Cylon, and
Yeah.
then they did like they did this like duality where they had two versions of this particular Cylon, and one stayed amongst the people, and then she slowly started feeling alienated, and she eventually learned of her true nature. And then you had the other one who was trapped on a planet who had like their own plan, um, but eventually gained her humanity
Right.
in the end. And
So it can be done.
yeah, so it can
It's
be
just,
done. That was the point of that was where I was trying to get to. But yeah, so it can be done is what we're trying to say.
but like the thing is, a lot of the remakes that are coming out today suck ass and are
Agreed.
just not worth watching.
Agreed.
But this is one of those films where it's like it makes sense as to why the remake is kind of like better and more recognizable as opposed to the original,
Uh-huh.
because it did improve upon the story and added depth to the characters,
Agreed.
and kind of reimagine them in a way that was different enough where it's like, yes, we're watching the same movie, but we're also watching a different film at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I see why the '83 version is much more ubiquitous as opposed to the original.
Mm. Agreed. Yeah, I like the '83 version better as well.
Um, all right. Any other last thoughts for you, Andy, or do you want to give
Nope,
our
that's
ratings?
it. Yeah, just let's give our ratings and then wrap this thing up.
Alrighty. I'm gonna have to go for the original. I'm gonna give it like 2.5 stars on this one. It's not a bad
Okay.
film, but like it's missing something. Like it's not. It doesn't. it needed a little bit more punch, and like the acting was a little wooden at times. Like not Tony, the guy who played Tony Kamani, like he was a good actor. Like he played the part well. But some of the other characters were a little bit like, not the best.
Right.
83. The 83 version, I'm gonna give a, I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
Okay.
And that's not a bad rating. It's just it does have a good story. It has you get more depth in the characters, so it's you feel you're there with Tony Montana, and you see like how he made his rise from kind of nothing to like Kingpin, and so I mean there's that. I've never thought I would say this, but the word "fuck" was used way too much in this film, like way too much. If they had like taken out like 250 of them, maybe that would have been a little bit better. But like, man, it was way too much, even for me. But overall, like like I said, the story is good. The soundtrack is good. A little gruesome. So if you don't like that, like it is a kind of a gruesome film. But yeah, like it's a good film, and I see why like everyone likes this one. Definitely not like not my favorite mob film. I think there's a lot better ones out there. There's a comedian by the name of John Mulaney. He had a really great bit talking about like films, and it's like how with some people he's like, oh, my favorite movies are The Godfather and Scarface, and it's like, and to him it's like that's like saying it's like my favorite foods are lobster and Skittles.
Oh.
So I kind of agree with that. Like I think there's a lot better mob films than Scarface, but it's not a bad film. I think it's definitely something you should watch if you haven't watched it. So those are my ratings.
All right, for me, for the 32 version, I'm gonna give it 2.
Okay.
Because also of the overt like political messaging that they put into this movie, with like the thing, because like this is this in the beginning they had that thing where it's like saying like, oh, these events are true, and we make this movie to like to send a message to like the like Congress or whatever to do their job and to make sure like to keep us safe and da da da. Like the obvious like second like this the anti-Second Amendment like debate that they actually had like right in the middle of the movie.
That's right. I forgot to that was something I did forget. Yes, that's right. I was like, what? This is 32. My God.
Yeah, this is 32. So we think that this it was all like done in like the early 1900s, but it's like this is like 32.
That's where
they're asking for like more like government overreach. It's like, oh well, if there isn't a law, then we have to make the law to take the guns. And it's like, what?
Yeah, I forgot. I totally forgot about that point. But you're right, Andy. That was. Maybe I will give it. You know what? I'm gonna downgrade it. You're right. 2. I'm gonna go with 2. I'm going with you. I forgot about that part. Fuck that. Fuck the original Scarface then.
Hey man, fuck you!
Say hello to my little
friend. But for the 83, I'm gonna give it a little bit better score, and give it a 3.75.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think it was good. It wasn't quite a 4, but I just can't see myself justifying giving it a 4. But I can give it a 3.75.
Yeah. My other thing is like, because sometimes people make remakes and like there's reasoning behind it. I'm kind of curious as to what the reasoning behind remaking Scarface from 32, because it's about 50 years
Right.
apart.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of curious of like what of all movies why they remade this one.
Well, I mean, if the screenplay was by Oliver Stone, then you know that it's like some sort of like conspiracy thing. And I mean, they were talking about the drug war and the drug trade that was going on. And I think that like you were saying, how there's like probably there were allusions to Iran Contra.
Yeah, but it's like, because it's not like they changed the skeleton of. It's not like they just named it the same movie. I mean, there is the skeleton from the original
Mm-hmm.
with certain elements that are the same. I mean, they changed up some of the stuff too, but yeah, I wonder like why they chose this one of all. I mean, instead of just making something completely original to begin with.
Mm.
But yeah, I know what you're saying with Oliver Stone. He obviously does a lot of conspiracy theory type movies,
Mm-hmm.
some of which are better than others. But yeah,
Right.
that would be something if I could ask, the director and the writers, like, what was the thinking, like, why this film? Why did you want to like
Mm-hmm.
use this film and remake it?
Right. Yeah. That'd be a nice thing to ask.
Maybe I'll see if they did, somebody did ask and they have an interview with them. I'll see if I can find that somewhere.
Right. All right. Well, yeah, there you have it. That's our review of both Scarfaces, both 1932 and 1983. Uh, for the 32, Robert and I both gave it a 2. Um,
Fucking like anti-Second Amendment bullshit.
yeah, and for the Second Amendment sentiments within it, I think we'd still recommend it, but just like it's not doesn't have to be on your top 100.
I would say like I would say if you're wanting to like rewatch Scarface, you've never seen it or you haven't seen it in a while, watch these two back to back. I think you'll actually like get a kick out of doing that.
Okay. All right. So with that caveat, if you're really interested in Scarface, maybe 83, and maybe want to see what we're talking about with 32, then yeah, check out 32 and then watch 83. And then for 83, Robert gives it a 3.5. I get a 3.75. It's if you can stand the amount of fucks in this movie, then
Don't make that your drinking game word. You'll regret it.
You'll die of alcohol poisoning for sure, guaranteed. So yeah, but yeah, check it out. Let us know what you thought. Leave it in the comments down below. For as long as we're here, or for as long as we have this channel. So yeah, so light a fire under that. Oh God, yeah, it must be getting to the end of the show. So my mouth is getting all jumbled. All right, well, that'll do it for us tonight. Thank you for joining us. I hope those of you on D Live enjoyed this, and will join us again next Tuesday, sometimes live. Don't forget to check out the library of other shows that we have. We have the Circle of Jerks main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Rob's gaming show, Up by Up Down. If you are into old school 8-bit or
8-bit and 16-bit games.
8-bit and 16-bit games. Don't forget to follow us on our social medias: Twitter at PodcastCOJ and Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast. And with all that being said, we thank you again, and we'll see you next time.
Oh, and we should since if you want to join us for next week and kind of with the movie, we are doing the Manchurian Candidate.
That's right. Yes, there's a 1950s.
I think it's 62, I believe.
Is 62
with Frank Sinatra? Yeah.
Right. I know it's Frank Sinatra.
And Angela Lansbury. I didn't realize that was her in that film.
Oh, really? Huh.
Of Murder She Wrote fame.
Right. Or Mrs. Potts from Beauty and the Beast. The animated version. The animated.
Yeah.
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 All right. See you next week. Don't do anything I would.